The Against All Odds podcast, sponsored by Oak Forest Recovery.
Welcome to the Against All Odds podcast. I am your host, Rachel. We have co-host RJ, and we got my girl, Britt Bernard, in the building. Go fucking birds!
Go fucking birds!
Britt's from Philly.
Is that where you guys all made that thing and everybody had like a costume or something?
Yes.
Okay,
They did that for my sober anniversary.
I would say she's like a mega fan, but I think every Allbirds fans are the way that you are. So
yeah,
it's just not even like extreme. It's just how everyone is.
100%.
Yeah.
You just have to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm so glad you're here. And I consider you one of like my best friends, and I've never heard your story like in person. Got to be like, do this. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I am too.
To hear things. So let's just get right into it. Let's start from the beginning. Let's bring it back
the beginning
to baby Britt.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Baby Britt. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Philly. I was born and raised in Philly, and my dad was a Philadelphia police officer. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I have two little sisters. One didn't come until a little bit later. She's 10 years younger than me, but growing up, it was really just me and my middle sister, Brianna. And I mean, things were pretty normal. Things got a little bit chaotic, and my mom drank. But overall, like a pretty normal childhood. I didn't need for anything, want for anything. We went to church, that kind of thing, and I don't know, when my youngest sister was born is kind of when my mom took off with alcoholism. And so I always call her crackhead. I'm like, I'm sorry, Mom, you were crackhead.
And this is when you were like 10.
I was like 10 years old. So my mom had my sister, brought her home from the hospital. I remember going to see her when she had the baby, and she was hot. She had a C-section. So she was like out of it. Right.
Yeah,
and I remember her talking about like going to 7-Eleven for milk and like crazy, you know what I mean? Like even then I was like, that's not right. And then Bailey, was young, and my mom started to use, and my dad being a police officer, like things kind of got out of hand a little bit. I don't know, I think quicker for her because he started to catch on, her siblings started to catch on. And let's be honest, she wasn't very good at hiding. I tell her all the time, like there's pictures of her that look like Skeletor. Like she had this spiky yellow hair, like not a bleach and tone.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't tone the blonde hair. We're just going to rock out Simpson style. You know what I'm saying? And so it was obvious, that she had a problem. And eventually my dad and her dad confronted her, and it's actually funny. She used to keep her pills in a dental floss case. And my dad went to use dental floss in the middle of the night and found the pills.
Got it. Yeah.
And so she was confronted. And I had known for a while that things were happening. Like I found weed in a car and things. I didn't know exactly what was happening because, again, I was 10.
Yeah, you just knew things were off.
But I knew things were off, right? And I was taking care of my sisters and things like that. And so she eventually got sober.
Yeah.
She got sober in 2004. And then it just kind of like recovery was always a part of my life because I went to meetings with her and I went to hear her speak for anniversaries and things like that. And so I always knew that there was a program of recovery available. I just didn't think that I needed it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I started drinking when I was about 13. I was super involved in a child's recovery program.
What did that look like?
It's for kids of alcoholic parents.
Yeah.
And it's kind of similar to a 12-step program where you meet in a church basement, and it's really just like talk about feelings. You know what I mean? Feelings surrounding addiction and what happens and what that looks like. Because let's be honest, addiction is chaotic for everybody that's involved, not just the addict, And so I was super involved in that up until probably early adulthood, like 19, 20 years old. But like I felt like I had two separate lives.
Yeah.
Like I was in this recovery program and like putting a persona on, but I was also like at the keg on the weekends, you know what I mean? Doing keg stands, and showing up to class drunk and things like that. And so, I don't know. It just kind of spiraled for me, and I didn't ever see a problem with it. And if I'm being honest, like it wasn't until I got sober that I even realized that I had been experimenting with drugs, like triple C's. I think Gabby just made a video about that. And when she said triple C's, I was like, oh my God. because like I didn't realize at that time that I was getting high. I knew that it felt good.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I wasn't high, you know? And so like things like that were where I started. And because my mom was in recovery, I was always like, if I don't do this thing, then I don't have a problem. If I don't snort the pills, if I don't do it this way, then I'm okay.
Like
if it's a prescription, then it's cool.
It's fine.
Right. It's fine. You're meeting some guy in an alley to buy them, but it's a prescription, so it's fine. Just delusional thinking from a very early age. Like my first, I think, addiction was self-harm. Like I would cut myself and things like that. And
how old were you when that started?
I was probably in like 7th grade, 6th grade, something like that.
Okay, let me ask you, because we're around the same age. Where did you learn?
Do you really want to know?
I do really want to know, because I want to see something.
Okay, so I went to a Catholic school.
Okay.
And there was a trend in the school where girls were carving boys' initials. Oh, I still have an E.
I've done that
on my ankle. You can barely see it, but it's there. I don't know where that came from. I just remember seeing other girls do it, and I was like, oh, that looks fun. And then I did it, and it felt good because I had so much stuff going on at home. And I was like, oh, this like relieves something. Not really, but you know, at that age, it felt that way for me. And so that's kind of where that started. And then I was introduced.
Where were you going though with it?
I want to know. Yeah.
Well, no, I was just curious of the storyline, because I know for me, I think it was around, I did the same shit with the initial. We used to take those fucking protractor tools.
Oh, okay.
Was that a protractor? The thing that it's like the
you
sharp
draw a circle
and you draw. Yeah. And I remember me and listen, millennials, we didn't have TikTok. We harmed ourselves. Okay. That we were into self-harm, but I had kind of the same story. And then 13 came out.
Yes.
And I was like, this is I am the same,
right?
Like this, and it made me feel,
it was like validating.
Validated it, and like even furthermore pushed it along for me,
because they were huffing in that video, in that movie.
Have you ever seen such a normal? I feel like for people our age, it was such a normal.
Everyone wanted to be. What's her name? Evan Rachel Wood. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to be her.
Yeah. You know? So I was just curious on that. And so was that was before you were.
That was before I ever touched drugs.
Substance. Yeah. Okay. So we're really similar.
I'd ever done anything. Yeah. But it was like taking myself. I didn't know that at the time, but it was taking me out of the equation and like putting a physical aspect to it, you know? And I had cousins that were around the same age as me. And then I had a cousin that was about 4 years older than me. And so she was drinking before any of the younger cousins, and that looked cool because I looked up to her, you know, and it just kind of, I was very easily influenced. I still am.
Were you scared though before? Did you have those thoughts of like, oh shit, my mom kind of dealt with this, or you didn't really think about it like that?
Not until I was introduced to Adderall in college did I have like, this is like not something that I'm used to doing, right? Like drinking to me, even now is so even more so now, honestly, is so much more glorified and like accepted as like, that's normal. That's what you do. You grow up, you have the keg in the woods, you do like, that's just a normal progression.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
And so it never occurred to me that like drinking and drugs are connected. And if I start with one, that I might end up
with the other. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't go to a keg at 13 and be like, I want to be a crackhead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to do. I want to go to rehab. No one does that. Right. You know? So yeah, it just spiraled. It started very small, and it's a progressive disease, right? Like we hear that all the time. And it is. For me, that rang so true. It started very small. It started just like one day a weekend, and then it slowly Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I wasn't showing up to class, or if I was drunk and I was driving my car to school drunk. And for me, like in high school, I had really good grades. I was at the top of my class. I was incredibly smart, but there was just this aspect of like being the life of the party and being FOMO for sure, right? Being left out of something and wanting to be a part of something. And that's what alcohol gave me, you know? It gave me an avenue to make friends.
Right. Listen, nobody wakes up one day and thinks, you know what'll be fun? Going to rehab. But sometimes life gets messy, and the bravest thing that you can do is admit that you need a reset.
At Oak Forest Recovery, we're not here to judge. We've been there. We know what it's like. We've been scared. We've been alone, using comedy and jokes to cover it all up. The good news is you don't have to do it alone. We have the tools, we've got the community, and we even have good coffee.
If you or someone you love is struggling, come see us. Healing doesn't have to be boring. It can even be fun, and we're here to help. So what were the first like consequences you started to experience?
If I'm being honest, I didn't really have consequences
For a long time.
And I think a lot of it comes back to my dad being a police officer.
Mm.
And
I was going to say, it almost seemed like maybe you would have more consequences.
Yeah.
Right. But I think like, and this is important to talk about. I think for a long time, I was like embarrassed by it because it's a form of privilege for me, right? Like my dad's a cop and I got a get out of jail free card.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But the reality is like, if I got pulled over and if I cried and said my dad was a cop, like a lot of times they would call him and either drive me home or have somebody else drive my car, or, you know what I mean? Like these things that your average person isn't going to get when they get pulled over for a DUI, if we're being honest, you know? And so even with my parents, I don't think I had a whole ton of consequences. There aren't a whole lot of times that I can remember being like grounded or anything. I'm sure there were, but they don't like stick out in my mind. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't deter me at all. If we're being,
were they aware that you like were they worried that you had an actual problem, or did they think that you were just like a young doing the things that we did?
I think my mom always kind of thought that I had a problem. My dad, I love him so much, but he is pretty oblivious to, not so much anymore, but at that time, he was pretty oblivious to the fact that I had a problem. I mean, I can remember one time I had just got my license. I was about 16 or 17 years old. My girlfriends all wanted to go to a Phillies game and they wanted to tailgate. And I was terrified because I'm like, we're going to go to the parking lot and drink with adults and cops around. Cause like in Philly, all the stadiums are together. So the cops patrol every parking lot. They're all open if one stadium has an event, all the parking lots are open. And so they're all patrolled by the police. And so I was like, how are we going to do this? And my friends were like, we're just going to get a bottle of this and a case of beer and we're going to go down and we'll start in the car and like eventually we'll just fit in. Right. And we did that and we went down and I was like, I'm going to be the DD. I'm not going to drink. That didn't work out. I was probably the drunkest out of everyone. My friend's sister had to come drive my car home because I was that obliterated. I almost threw up on a toddler, this poor mother. I just imagine myself at a Phillies game.
That's like the one scene you remember.
Not puking
I
on
do.
the toddler.
Well, so what happened was they like encouraged me to drink in the parking lot. And again, peer pressure. I'm so easily influenced. Yeah. They're like, it's just a Jaeger bomb. I'm like, okay, let's do 17 of them. Right. And we get into the game and we're sitting in the seats and they had rally tails and I was sitting like backwards.
Wait, they had what?
Rally tails?
What is that?
It's like basically a washcloth with the team's name on it.
Okay, got it. I never knew it was called that. Okay.
Yeah, it's a rally tail. Yeah. But they gave them out at the game and I had it over my face and I was just like slumped in the chair, like dying. And all of a sudden I felt like I was going to puke. And I got up out of my seat and I ran to the bathroom. And I'm running, I don't know if I was running up the steps or down the steps, but I remember a mom and her son walking towards me as I'm running. And the mom like grips the son like behind her back because I'm just spewing.
Oh, fuck.
And I just imagine myself with Billy at a game now. And I'm like, I would punch somebody in the face if they did. She could have thrown me down the steps, if we're being honest. She didn't. But like, I remember coming home from that game and my dad sitting in his recliner. And I ran up the steps to my bedroom as fast as I could. And as I was running up the steps, he's like, who won? And I was like, the Phillies. And I just kept going. But he never questioned. He didn't look up if the Phillies had won. I still to this day couldn't tell you if they won the game or not. But I was so obliterated. And he didn't notice, right? So I think things like that would happen where I was such a good kid in other aspects of my life that a lot of times I got a pass.
Yeah, you were very similar too, right?
Yeah, I was very functional in a lot of other areas in my life, but living like this double. And it's a lot easier to get away with shit. It's a lot easier to rationalize and keep going.
Right.
It's almost like a down, you know, it's kind of like a...
It kept me sick for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. Because in my mind, I could rationalize, oh, well, this person looks very similar to me and they're not being told that they have a problem with drugs and alcohol. So why do I? That's not fair.
Yeah.
I'm fine, you know? And yeah, I mean, the consequences, I did have consequences for sure, but they were not as bad as they should. I should be a felon. I should have DUIs.
Right.
And sometimes I just didn't get caught, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of times that I didn't get caught, but there are a few times that stick out in my mind that I was pulled over for DUI and I absolutely could have gone to jail for it.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And I think that hindered me too, right? It kept me from having my mom and dad couldn't be like, oh, well, you have 3 DUIs. You need to go to rehab.
Right.
I didn't have any of that for them to like, they almost like didn't have a leg to stand on, you know? So yeah, college was where it kind of got a little bit crazy for me.
So you got through high school.
I graduated at the top of my class.
Where'd you go to college?
Wow.
Temple University.
In Texas?
No.
Wait.
Philly.
Oh, okay. It's in Philly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to and I failed out. Well,
like
whatever.
Immediately, like first semester.
No,
or?
I was at Temple I lived there for 2 years and then I lived off campus for 2 years. So technically I should have been a senior, but when I dropped out, I was actually just a junior because I had done so terribly. Like I just didn't want to go to class. I liked the parties. I wanted to party with everyone. I was at the sporting events. Like I've always been a sports girl, right? And so like all of the like community of college was more enticing to me than actually going to school and getting an education. I didn't care.
Like, I'm here to have a good time.
Right. I'm like you want me to go to class at 8 a.m.? Absolutely not. No, I can't go that. I can't do that. I did enjoy college, some aspects of the educational part, but I mean, I just couldn't keep up. That was one area of my life where I couldn't keep up the facade.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the work was so intense that I just wasn't able to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. And then college was where I was introduced to Adderall for the first time. And I remember the first time being terrified. My roommates were like, you have a paper to write. We all have a test. Just take this. You'll be fine. And I'm like, give me like a half of a half of a half because with my luck, I'll be a drug addict.
Yeah.
Hello.
Foreshadowing.
Right.
Subtle foreshadowing.
And so it didn't really do anything the first time I took it because I took such a small amount.
Yeah.
But then you were like, oh, I could take a little more.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that fucked me too, for being honest. I was like so scared of it that it almost made it worse because I would do a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and it would get worse every time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how my story ends too. My mom saying like, it just kept getting worse. And I kept praying that you would get better and it didn't. And that's kind of been my story since I was a kid. You know, it just little bit by little bit, it would get worse. And yeah, but college, my grandfather was really sick. I ended up moving in with him. That's why I lived off campus for 2 years. And I was basically a 21-year-old who lived by herself because he had dementia so bad that I could.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Do whatever you wanted.
Right. He didn't remember. As long as I was taking care of him and he was good, like
you could do what you
my
wanted.
mom and her siblings didn't really question me or my aunt, who was also my age. And we lived with him and took care of him and took him to the grocery store and all of those things. And I remember him being on an Ativan and like sneaking some of the Ativan, like just things that like trying to experiment, I guess. I don't really know why. But then there was also times like where people around me would smoke wet and I would be like, that's not something. I'm too good for that.
I thought we were going to go on a whole another journey just now. I was like, oh,
Wait,
I'm
you said
so excited.
Smoke wet?
Yeah.
PCP.
PCP. Yeah.
Okay.
Sherm sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My cousin loved the Sherm stick. And I was like, That's where I
That's
draw the
one thing
line.
I've never even done, to be honest.
Yeah, same.
But it's a big thing, especially in the Northeast.
It's a big thing in Philly.
Yeah, it's a big thing in Philly. It's a big thing in New York City as well. And certain people will do it one time and like completely lose their fucking mind.
Have you ever seen the videos of people on the internet where they're like naked in front of a bus?
Yeah, for sure. No, I know what it does to people. Yeah,
They've been
for
doing
sure.
that. I've got to meet clients that have come, through finding Old Forest through my platform, and I think that's been one of the most special things. And then seeing them, I've seen people come in the beginning, and then I've seen them, at Bonfire or after, and seeing like the light come back in their eyes and what a great experience they're having, and this new, community that they have now that could last for the rest of their lives and has set them up like for a successful recovery. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things. John said he did it one time and he thought he had so much superhuman strength that he spent like 4 hours in a park trying to pick up a boulder outside.
Just like, I'm going to get this.
Dude, I still think he told me that when we were like 16 and I still think about it all the time.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it makes you a little crazy.
It does. Well, my dad being a cop, like he has a lot of stories about people doing PCP or whatever, meth and stuff. And he's like, they're scary.
Yeah, that is scary
because the taser like doesn't even stop them a lot lot of times.
People will think they can fly and they'll jump off a fucking
there's a lot. If you look up
buildings.
Like Philly, someone on like PCP, a lot of videos come up people being goofy.
Yeah. Okay, so you didn't do PCP.
No, I thought I was too good. I was too good for that. But I would do other things and. Adderall, Molly, like party drugs was my thing. I was a party girl. That was my story. That's who I was. Even still, like all the goofy stuff we do when we all get together, like that's part of, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that identity.
Yeah.
And so I just like to have fun, And so anything that could like enhance the fun a little bit. The first time I realized that if I took Adderall when I drank, I could drink longer and not get the spins. I was like, oh.
Yeah, here we go.
That was my I have arrived moment, right? I was like, oh yeah, this is the one where I could do this, And then Molly too. It was like, I was a bad drug addict, if we're being honest. I was kind of a load. So,
Yeah.
My friends were like, maybe you shouldn't do that thing because I would like sit in a corner and talk to myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so were they bringing it to your attention? Like they were like, Britt, hey, like maybe.
I was dating this guy, Tommy, and we went down to Ocean City, Maryland, and we're still friends today. And he was the first person I ever did Molly with. And we're at, I don't know if you're familiar with Secrets in Ocean City, Maryland.
Yeah.
Okay. So he worked there and he knew all the bouncers and whatever. And so we go there. And I had taken Molly for the first time. And before we took it, we ate McDonald's chicken nuggets and drank strawberries.
Oh, not the strawberries.
Foreshadowing. Okay, you know where this is going, okay? And they're like, just chill. Like, you'll be fine. You'll feel it in your feet first. It'll rise. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this. Well, we're in the club part of Secrets. And they're playing EDM, which is perfect for Molly. Well, for whatever reason, they decide to switch to a live band. It's like a country band. Immediately, as I'm like feeling the Molly like rise in my body, the music switches.
Oh no.
The whole vibe changes. I immediately feel sick.
Yeah.
And
that's so weird.
Party foul.
It was terrible. I was
that's
like,
so weird.
I looked at my friend Pat and I was like, I'm gonna throw up. And for whatever reason, I thought I was running. I've seen the security camera footage. I was not running. I was like slow motion walking to the bathroom and I didn't make it. I puked in a trash can and I'm in the bathroom and I guess the bouncers had seen what happened and they're waiting for me when I come out of the bathroom and I start running again. I don't know if I was actually running that time, but I start running from them and I come out the front doors and I like spill onto Tommy's chest and he's like, what did you do? He's like, what's happening? And now the bouncers are coming behind me, right? And they're running toward.
Are you rolling at this point or you're just feeling sick?
Fully rolling. I'm like
in it.
He's like, what's happening? And the bouncers are like, is she with you? And he was like, yeah. And they were like, she can come back, but you got to take her home and like fix whatever's happening there. So he took me back to the apartment and I got a shower. I think I took about a 4-hour shower. We never made it back to Secrets.
Yeah.
And then while I was in the shower, I was like, this feels so good. I want to jump in the bay. So I made him walk me to the dock and let me jump in the bay. I have a picture of me somewhere in a bathing suit in the bay, like.
It's like the middle of the night.
Yes, like
You're
probably
living,
midnight, 2 a.m.
living.
something. Just And he was like, Britt, you can't do Molly. But I loved it. I was like, this is so much fun. What? I'm doing this every weekend. Yeah. And so I did, and it became a problem. Like it started to become noticeable to people in my life, especially my best friend Jess, who had moved. She wasn't in Philly anymore. She was in Austin, Texas. And she would see pictures of me on the internet and my face, I looked like Skeletor. It was scary. And people would call her unbeknownst to me and tell her that they thought I had a problem with drugs. For whatever reason, nobody ever came to me about it. I don't know if it's because I would probably pop off on someone if they did that, or if they were scared to like hurt my feelings, or I don't know why, but nobody ever confronted me about it. And then I was working at a dog kennel, and this woman, Liz, I had been on a bender for a weekend, and I went to work on a Monday morning after not sleeping, doing copious amounts of drugs and alcohol. And I felt like I wanted to kill myself, right? I was like, if I leave here, I'm going to drive my car off a bridge. And so I went to my boss, who was sober. She had like probably about 20 years sober at the time. Wow. Yeah, thank God, right? And I went to her and I was like, if I leave, I'm going to kill myself. You need to take me somewhere. I don't know where, but you need to take me somewhere. And she was like, okay. She calls my parents. She calls psych wards, and she gets me admitted somewhere. She sits with me through intake. Like that woman saved my life, seriously. And I didn't get sober then, but it started something. You know what I mean? It started the journey, and it changed the way that I had a relationship with drugs and alcohol, because it was the first time I was scared that I was going to get caught.
Right.
And that's when I was like,
How old were you?
That point, I was probably 23, 24, somewhere in there, like between 23 and 25. And
dropped out of college already at this point? Okay.
Yep. I dropped out of college. This was like right after that, probably.
Okay.
Not long after that. My grandfather was really sick. Like things were happening in my life that were like
serotonin levels are just like at all time zero.
Man.
In the toilet. And then I'm taking Adderall and dropping them even more when I'm coming down off of it, and I didn't understand any of that at the time. I didn't understand that you could withdraw off of any of those things. And I ended up going to treatment for 2 weeks. For some reason, the drug test didn't pop for amphetamines. And I remember sitting in like the family session with the therapist, and my dad asking, is she on drugs? Like, does she have a drug problem? And the lady was like, she popped hot for THC, but like other than that, she's fine. And I was like, okay. So that again fed that delusion in my mind. Like, oh, it's not that bad. Professional is telling me it's not that bad. And so I got out.
How interesting.
It's crazy.
How weird.
I don't know how that happened. I really don't know if God had a bigger plan, if we're being honest. Like I wasn't supposed to get sober then. My story is the way it is for a reason.
Right.
But I got out of treatment, and it was Thanksgiving Eve, and I was at the bar.
The biggest party day of the year.
I was at the bar that night doing Adderall and drinking again. Yeah. Like I just didn't care. And I didn't want to look at the deeper issues. I just blissfully unaware, which was probably to my detriment at some times, but it was just easier that way. It was easier not to look at why are these things happening? Are you part of the me? Part of the problem?
Couldn't be me.
Never. It's not me. It's everyone else. I'm pointing the finger at everyone else.
And so now your parents know at this point. So are they more on your ass or about things, or no?
My mom started to be more on my ass. Okay. My dad had definitely caught me at certain points. Like I remember one time he caught me with weed in the car. I don't remember how old I was when that happened, but he flushed it all down the toilet, and he was like, don't you dare bring weed into my house or property that I own, And so I did respect him enough, and I also a little bit scared of him. So I didn't bring drugs and alcohol into his house, but I did steal meds from him. We both had a knee issue at the same time, and we were prescribed oxycodone. And
my favorite.
Yeah, it was fun.
What caused you to choose to become a part of the Oak Forest team?
The first time you came out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my family. These are my best friends now. And I immediately felt very drawn to the Oak Forest community. I think it's really beautiful, from just the bonfire meeting and people not even necessarily needing to go through Oak Forest to go to that. And then also knowing that they have this safe community, or if someone needs help, they can go through this program that has changed so many lives. I love that it's like a family and tribe, like you call it. From seeing how many people have gone through there and then decide to work at Oak Forest and help others and want to stay in that community because they love it so much, I think that's truly something I haven't seen anywhere else.
And I lied, right? Like, I was really good at lying and manipulating situations. I remember going to the ER for the knee injury that I had. I had dislocated my knee and tore my meniscus. Like, I really fucked my shit up. And my dad takes me to the ER. They give me oxys in the ER, and I take them, and I was like, I don't like the way this makes me feel. I was lying through my teeth, right?
Yeah.
And I told my mom that I flushed the prescription that they gave me. I took it within probably 2 days or 3 days, you know? And then I knew that my dad didn't take his because he actually didn't like the way that it made him feel. Yeah. And so I would sneak into his room and take 1 or 2 at a time and like hide them. And then one day I went to get them and there was none left. And I was like, fuck. And the way our house was, we lived in a Philly row home, and their bedroom was at the front of the house and my bedroom was at the back of the house, and there was a hallway connecting them. Right. And so I could hear them in their bedroom one night. And my dad was asking my mom, who's
if she took it.
At this point, she's like sober 10.
She's newly...
No, she's like sober like 10 years. Right now she's sober 22 years. So like she stayed sober from 2004. Right. So he's questioning her and she's sober. And she's like, I didn't touch your meds. Like, you're crazy. And they're arguing about it. And I remember sitting on my bedroom floor, like terrified that they were going to come down the hallway. And it wasn't until I got sober that I told them the truth. Oh, and I was like, you know, that time you thought that mom stole your drugs? It was me. I told them. Wow. You know, and yeah, I mean, really just, and I would never do something like that now, you know, but my mind was so diluted. For sure. Yeah, I was willing to go to any length and step over anyone and hurt anybody in my life to get what I needed to get. And at that point, I didn't even realize that that's what I was doing. Yeah, you couldn't have you could have hooked me up to a polygraph, and I would have been like, I did not
because you believe that shit. Yeah, well, I feel like you start saying it so much that you like do. Make yourself believe.
Well, I think you have to believe the delusion in order to continue feeding the addiction. Yeah, and that's part of the mental illness that is addiction. For sure, you know. I think that it's not talked about enough. If I'm being honest.
Agree.
I think that we demonize addicts for certain things, especially living in Philly with Kensington and stuff, and seeing the conversations that go on a political scale in like city politics, and we're gonna put them over here, and we're gonna move them here, we're gonna put them in jail. I'm like, and you're all yelling at each other. When really the problem is we have a mental health crisis. Right. And we're not getting to you can move a drug addict 3 blocks away. They're still going to be shooting heroin in their neck. Like, hello? What are we doing? Yeah. You know? So I think that really is where addiction, like we do a disservice just in this country in general.
Oh, I agree 1,000%.
You know, we
can go on a whole tangent about that.
I could talk about it for hours. Yeah. Seriously.
So during this whole time, are you in the rooms at all? Like okay.
No, I didn't go to a meeting until I actually got sober. Okay. Like I would I'm lying. I would go to my mom's anniversaries every year And she laughs about it now, but I would like show up drunk. I would show up high, like, and think like these people, they're never going to know. Little did I know, everyone that my mom knew in recovery was like praying for me for years to get sober. And I had no clue. But it also is a blessing for me because of my mom's background in recovery. When I got sober, I had a phone contact list full of women ready to help me. And I don't think I would be sober today if it weren't for that. Like there were women that my mom had known for, I mean, when I have 7 years. So she probably had 13 years when I got sober. Wow. Or something like that. 15 years maybe. But there had been women that my mom had known for 15 years that were calling me every day. How are you? Do you want to go to a meeting? Right. Do you need something? Like just people that's the one thing, like the recovery community always shows up. Always. That is the one thing I can say about recovery is like when you're in it, people show up, and I wouldn't be here without those people. You know, there's so many that I could talk about that have shaped the way that my sobriety has looked. And I'm so grateful for that because I wouldn't be here, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So what was the end of your addiction? What did your bottom look like?
So my bottom looks a lot like Abby's actually.
Okay.
Those consequences that we talked about, my dad being not as aware of things, he started to become aware. So my dad was not only a cop, but he had a side business. He was a pest control. He had a pest control business, and I worked for him after I had been fired from a job, and like just crazy stuff happening in my life, you know? And so, I worked for him, and he gave me a company card, and I was using the company card at the bar. I would tap Mac at the bar, take money out, pay my tab. And so one day he confronts me about the card, and he's like, hey, how many times have you used the credit card this month? And I was like, oh, I've been to Wawa a couple times, like trying to sweep it under the rug. I fully thought that he would never look at the bank statement. I don't know what.
You had to tell yourself that.
I don't know where that made sense in my brain. I couldn't tell you, but he literally whips out a bank statement. He's like, try again. And I was like, oh shit, you know? And I convinced him that, you know, my sister wasn't talking to me at the time. And I was like, oh, well, she's not talking to me. I just made him feel bad for me, right? All these bad things are happening to me. I have no part in them. And so I'm depressed and I'm drinking. Stupid, right? But he felt bad. I knew he would because daddy's little girl. I'm his first daughter. He calls me Doodle Bear. I hate it, but he does. You know, I knew I could make him feel bad. And so I did, and I left that conversation. And for the first time in my life, drugs and alcohol did not work to stop that conversation from playing over on repeat in my head. And I remember like going on my phone as soon as I left and trying to find somebody on Tinder to go smoke with or drink with or something that night to get out of it, right? I wanted to get out of that conversation. And I end up meeting this random guy, go into his basement. We're smoking weed. We're watching some basketball documentary. And I just like look around in his basement and I'm like I gotta go. Yeah, I literally said out loud, I was like, I gotta go. I grabbed my shit and I ran to my car. Yeah. And I've been sober since then. Wow. I like texted my friend and I said,
basketball boy was the end.
It was
basement, basketball basement.
First
boy
of all,
was the
he pulled
end.
out this contraption to smoke weed with that I had never seen. And it made me so freaking paranoid.
What was it?
It was like a balloon that blows up. It was almost like a gravity blonde or something.
It's like a vape.
Yeah.
It was so weird. He was like, yeah, you suck the balloon, you suck the smoke out of the balloon. And I was like, what? that set the tone for me being uncomfortable. And then I had this whole thing playing in my head with my dad. And I was like,
what the fuck?
You were like, we're done. You're done. We're done.
I gotta go. See you later. But I text my best friend who was in that children's program with me. And I was like, I have to say something. But if I say it, my whole life's going to change. Because I knew. I watched my mom get sober. I watched what she did. I've watched her help other women. I knew if I said to my parents, I have to go to rehab, they were going to be like, shackle my ass to the radiator in the basement and be like, you're never drinking again, you know? Yeah. And at that time, I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to do. I was like, I couldn't imagine having a baby, getting married, all these things without drinking. I could not picture it. And somebody told me to take it a day at a time. And I started to do that. And it got easier to be like, okay, just for today, I don't have to do that. I can go to a meeting. I can call a friend that's in recovery. I can go hang out with one of my mom's friends that's sober. Yeah. And do these other things. And it just kind of snowballed, and I've stayed sober ever since. And my mom took me to my first meeting, and that was a time. It was like an old man meeting. And I was like, Mom, what? I'm not. I don't belong here, you know?
In your experience with treatment, how special is Oak Forest?
Oak Forest is very special. I've had my fair share of treatment experiences. I've even worked in treatment myself. And Oak Forest is like something I've never really experienced before. And I think that it's almost something that like cannot be replicated anywhere else, at least from what I've seen, right? And so it's just like this community and the love and the support that goes from the beginning of the process, and not even just with the clients, with the families, with everything else. Like everything that I have seen goes above and beyond. And like beyond, even as like all of these people are being employed long after they have completed treatment, right? And I think that right there says everything.
But I found a program of recovery with young people in my area that there was like a men's recovery house that lived a block away from me. And I know they say like men with the men, women with the women, whatever. But those men saved my life. They, like, the owner of the recovery house let me come to the big book studies that they were having, and like let me come to the men's meeting because I lived by myself. I didn't go to rehab. I got sober on my mom's couch. I lived by myself. And so those men like scooped me up, and they taught me how to have a platonic relationship with men. I didn't know how to do that. Right. And they showed me what recovery looked like. And eventually I've grown my network, and I have a million women that I lean on, but there was like 8 men that really saved my life in the beginning.
Wow. Shout out to the boys.
Yeah, I love them. I would cook them dinner, and they would come over and like paint the house. And a lot of them unfortunately like aren't here anymore, and the one that actually like drew me in, my friend Kevin, he passed away a couple years ago, and his death like really messed me up because we weren't talking at the time because of addiction. Like when you're sober and you have a friend that's going through addiction, like sometimes you have to put up really hard boundaries.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do. And, when he passed away, I grappled with, did I do enough? Should I have cut him off? And I know a lot of people struggle with that, but the reality is like, we have to put our own recovery first. Right. I have to do what I have to do for me in order to show up to be able to help him someday.
Come on.
And so it's being in recovery is so hard because there's so much depth to it and so many nuances that people don't understand, especially if you're not walking in it.
Right.
That, it's not easy. So we're badasses for being at this table together.
Yeah, we are. Okay, so you get sober. Where does Dan come in the picture? I love Dan.
You want to hear
Dan's her husband.
Dan's my fiance. Dan, the story how I know Dan is actually so rooted in recovery and insane that looking back at it now with 7 years sober, I'm like, God had a plan all along. Like he kept tying Dan and Dan's family into my family.
Okay, so you guys go back before you got sober.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dan and my sister, my middle sister, met on Xbox.
Okay.
And Dan was high. Playing Xbox. Just imagine Dan in his room. Like, he's gonna love this, by the way. So they met on Xbox, and my sister obviously knew about recovery because of my mom. And so Dan overdosed on Xbox one night, and she had to call 911. I don't know if she called 911 or his parents, but someone called 911.
Yeah.
And he got sober shortly after that. Hold on one second. I have something in my eye.
Pause.
I'm sorry, guys. There's like a hair like hanging in my eyeball. And I can't see it. All right. So so he was on Xbox with my sister. She calls 911.
What was he using? Heroin or?
I want to say his thing was like no, Xanax.
Okay.
Sorry. Xanax. Yeah. So he overdoses on Xanax, and it was probably like a fentanyl pill or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets sober after that, and he stays sober for 3.5 years. But because him and my sister were friends, when he hit a year sober, he called or he Facebook messaged my mom, and he was like, I want you to chair my 1 year anniversary and be there for me because your daughter saved my life. And so we all went. My whole family went and heard him speak for his 1 year.
Huh.
And
Were you in love with him then?
No, but he was in love with me.
Oh, I knew it. Oh, I knew it.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. But he was around. Like, he would get invited to family functions, like birthday parties and things like that. Like, he would just be around and whatever. And I was at college at this point, so like I was so self-absorbed that I didn't even give a shit about him, right? Like, oh, that's Dan, that's my sister's friend, whatever. Yeah. And then it's actually interesting. Like, I got into a relationship with a man who was abusive. Dan was a staff tech at a rehab. The man that I was with ended up getting sober and going to that rehab. And Dan was his staff tech. Oh, so Dan would like let me FaceTime him, like do things that he probably shouldn't have done, you know? And they became friends. And when he got out of rehab, Dan kind of took him under his wing and helped him get sober. And then he stopped going to meetings, and he would blame me and my mom and whatever. And so Dan ended up calling my mom because he was friends with my mom. So he calls my mom and he's like, hey, so-and-so's not coming to meetings. Like, is he okay? Being a good friend, but the manipulative goofball that he was like, he sucks. He's in our business. You need to not be his friend. So I cut Dan off and I was like, fuck you. I flipped out on Dan, actually. I was like, don't get involved in my shit, you know? Who do you think you are? It's my business. You got my mom calling me, you know, just the whole thing. Yeah. And so I cut Dan off, and I was with that man for about 3 years after that. And when we finally ended, it got so abusive that like he pulled a gun on me. Like, it was really bad. And
can we talk about the fact that he's a cop? I can cut this out if
you can totally.
We'll get into that in a second.
We can finish. You can totally ask me
because
about
we'll dive into that.
Yeah, for sure.
And this was in sobriety too.
Not for me.
Not for you. Okay.
I wasn't sober yet.
Got it.
My partner at the time was sober, and he was just he was just a product of right. Like, and I think that's really it. Like, we all have trauma and things that we come from, and he's just a product of his environment, really. I don't have any ill feelings about him now, but at the time I hated his guts,
you know? Rightfully so.
So we break up. He had cheated on me, and that was where I drew the line, right? You can hit me, but
you can beat the shit out of me.
You sleep with another woman. Actually, he cheated on me the night the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2018.
Oh, no.
Ruined the Super Bowl for me. So last year, seeing the Eagles win the Super Bowl was like a full circle moment for sobriety for me, which was really cool. But regardless, we break up, and I go down the list of men that he had told me not to speak to anymore, because there was a lot of them. It wasn't just Dan. And so I get to Dan, I call him, I'm like, I'm really sorry, I know you were trying to help, like, whatever. And he's cool about it. He's like, yeah, no problem. Well, a week later, we're both drinking at this time. Dan had relapsed. He threw away 3 years of sobriety, so he's drinking. One weekend he texts me, and he's like, it's like 3 a.m. He's like, hey, want to have some fun? And I was like, shoot me the address. I'll be right there. I was like, I'm coming. And the funny thing is, like, nothing happened. We sat and we talked for hours and hours and hours. And I was like, oh, I actually like this person, you know? And so we start dating. And of course, my parents, who know that he's supposed to be sober, are like, absolutely the fuck not. Are you crazy? And I'm like, we're listening to gospel music at 3 a.m. We're FaceTiming my mom. Like hammered, listening to Kirk Franklin. Just imagine my mom answered a FaceTime at 3 a.m. like, are you okay? No, I'm not. And so like we dated for probably 6 months. We broke up. I got sober 2 weeks later.
Okay.
which was embarrassing because when I went to a meeting for the first time, someone that saw me on his Snapchat over the summer was like, "Aren't you the girl that was dating Dan over the summer?" And I was like,
"Oh no."
She ended up being my first sponsor, actually, which is kind of cool. But yeah. And so we started, I got sober. He wasn't sober. I had to make an amends to him. I took his TV hostage. Well, I'm a little bit of a psycho sometimes. He had left his TV at my house, and my sponsor was doing step work with me, and she was like, "You need to give that man his TV back." And I was like, "Okay."
Listen, nobody wakes up one day and thinks, you know what'll be fun? Going to rehab. But sometimes life gets messy, and the bravest thing that you can do is admit that you need a reset.
At Oak Forest Recovery, we're not here to judge. We've been there. We know what it's like. We've been scared. We've been alone, using comedy and jokes to cover it all up. The good news is you don't have to do it alone. We have the tools, we've got the community, and we even have good coffee.
If you or someone you love is struggling, come see us. Healing doesn't have to be boring. It can even be fun, and we're here to help.
So I call him. I fully think I'm going to be blocked because we had kind of a messy breakup. He answers the text message and he's like, "Dude, my parents' TV just broke last night." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." Yeah. There's no way. I like pulled my car over and called my sponsor and I was like, "Can you believe this?" She was like, "See, that's God." I had to be taught that stuff. I couldn't see that God had or a higher power, whatever you choose to call it, had any sort of hand in any of that stuff, you know, but I give the TV back. I remember him being like, "Do you want to call me so that when we meet up to exchange the TV, it's not weird?" We did. He's telling me he's going to move to LA. He's going to be a podcaster for sports. He's going to smoke weed. That's his plan to like better his life.
I can see Dan doing that.
I could too. I could. But at the time I was like maybe 90 days sober. And I was like, you know, if you want to come back to recovery, like you can, and it won't be weird. I know it feels weird because we broke up and whatever, and we have a lot of the same friends, but I'll be cool, I promise. And he went to a meeting 3 days later, and he's been sober ever since.
Oh, that's great.
And he always used to tell me, even in the very beginning when we were drinking, that there was a reason that God had put us together. He was like, "There's a reason, and that reason is Billy." Like we were meant. Stop, I'll cry.
No, I'll cry.
We were meant to be his parents, you know, and it's just crazy. It's my sister hated him, and there was a lot of like family stuff with him that that we had to like work through. He had hurt my sister, and so she didn't like that I was with him, and I had hurt her through my relationship with him, and so there was a lot of things that had to be worked through, but Billy like brought us all back together, you know, and now like it's just the gifts of being sober, right? Like seeing that transformation through to the end and seeing what can happen from it is just, I mean, if none of that would have happened,
right,
what would my life look like?
Yeah.
You know? And now I get to scare Dan all the time.
Yeah.
I love it.
Dude, yeah. Okay. We're going to have to
surprise each other.
Oh, I scare the shit out of
Dan
him.
are like my favorite couple, I think, of all time. He is iconic. She's iconic. Them together is fucking...
Gabby said this to me this morning.
No, it's so true.
Like, she saw us on FaceTime and she was like, I hung up and she was like, "I love you guys."
No, truly.
Because we just banter back and forth off each other, you know?
Yeah,
and like,
they just have such
like,
a good time. They're
ass.
always like just goofy. She scares the shit out of him and makes these videos where she's just scaring him all the time.
I jump around corners
and he drops everything.
Dude, one time he threw a diaper at me and
he gets really fucking funny.
Threw milk all over. He had like milk, taking Billy milk to at bedtime, and I jumped out of the stairs and the whole cup of milk like flew all over, and he was like, and at the end of them he always like gives me this look where he's like, "Really? Again?" Because he's like, "You're gonna give me a heart attack." I'm like, "No, I'm not. You're fine.
It'll be all right. It's for the gram. It's okay.
It's fine."
Okay, so you guys got together you got sober in 2018.
I got sober in 2018.
Right? Because we're both 2018. And then Billy comes along in 2020. Because he's also Silas and him are they're very close in age.
I had a baby. I was pregnant before I had a year sober.
Okay. Yeah. I think I was like freshly a year sober when I got pregnant with Silas.
Yeah, it was scary. And people were not nice about it in recovery. Yeah. They were like,
what the fuck?
I don't know. You know, there's like the unspoken rule.
There was some judgment.
Like you're not going to stay sober.
Like, what are you doing? Focus on your sobriety.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And like, I agree with that to some extent, but I do think that there's a way to do it. And Dan and I have done it the right way. Like we have totally separate recovery. We don't get involved in each other's recovery unless it's like, you know, the gambling and stuff. Like that is the only time that it's like affected our family, is the only time I'll get involved with his recovery and be like, you need to do something about this, you know? And so we've kept it separate. We work strong programs and we have separate people that we go to. Like, I just think that we did it the right way.
Yeah.
I do agree that 2 dead batteries don't start a car all the time.
It's true. I can confirm that.
But if you're charging the batteries and you're doing what you need to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can work out. I'm proof of that.
Right.
You know, so is he. So it's just been really cool to like go through that journey. And I remember telling my mom that I was pregnant with Billy. I was terrified. I was at a softball game for my little sister Bailey, and I like threw the pregnancy test at my mom in the bleachers. My mom was like, what the fuck? My poor parents, I put them through some shit. She was like, what the hell? And I was like, surprise, you're gonna be a grandma. She goes by Mimi, but yeah, and she's been supportive since day one. You know, I was really scared to tell my dad, but he was supportive too, surprisingly. And now they both love Billy. You know, and Billy's just a cool kid.
So how old's Billy?
Cool.
He's 5.
That's great.
Yeah, he's at a really cool age, and just being a mom and being sober, like I just feel like you can relate to this, like being able to be present with your kids in a way, like I don't want it to come off like I'm talking shit, but like I watch other moms with like in the phone and doing this and being stuck, and like I really try to take time to like be intentional, put my phone away and like spend time with him. And I think that it comes from being sober and being able to be present in the moment, because that's where I learned it, you know? So I just think being sober and being a mom, there's like an advantage there. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. What's it like being a sober mom that also has a son with autism? What's that like going through?
Yeah. It's been there, obviously, like there's times where it's difficult to be his mom, but not because of him. It's really because of the world that we live in. And like right now, there's stuff going on in the autism community. Like Trump's going to come on the TV and say that Tylenol causes autism. It doesn't. Just saying. But like, just the world isn't set up to support him in the way that he needs to be supported. And so that's the difficult part. It's never that like his meltdowns, don't get me wrong, they make me sad. I've texted you guys during things that are happening. But like, I feel like most of the time when I text you guys about something that's happening, it's almost always like someone's looking at him different, or something happened and he was bullied at school, or this happened, you know, it's not him. Right. It's the world that we live in. It's not kind and they don't understand it. Right. Same with recovery. What happens when people that don't understand recovery try to take over and fix addiction?
Right.
Yeah. Doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
No, totally.
You need the lived experience, but it's been super fulfilling for me to be his mom, because it gives me a sense of purpose to fight for something for him. And like through the Eagles Autism Foundation and all the cool things we've done with that, like if I help one family attend a football game, because Billy loves the Eagles. He's obsessed. I mean, we talked about it in the beginning, right? If you're a Birds fan, you're a Birds fan. So like allowing him, having a space for him to go to football games and enjoy a game that would otherwise be really difficult for him. The noise, the lights, all the things. If I can help one other family experience that kind of joy, like watching Billy at a football game is so fun. He makes me like the Eagles more. Okay. And I already like them, but like he makes me get more into it, because watching him, we just went to the game. We were invited by Eagles Autism and Kylie.
What is Eagle?
So Eagles Autism Foundation, they raise money for programs surrounding like sensory rooms and different tools within the stadium to assist children or adults with autism enjoy the game. They have a sensory room. They have quiet spaces. If you go to guest services, they'll give you a sensory bag with headphones and fidgets and things. They're trying to inspire other teams to get on board and start their own foundations, right? And so
I've seen I've got to meet clients that have come, you know, through finding O4S through my platform, and I think that's been one of the most special things. And then seeing them, I've seen people come in the beginning, and then I've seen them, you know, at bonfire or after, and seeing like the light come back in their eyes and what a great experience they're having, and this new, you know, community that they have now that could last for the rest of their lives and has set them up like for a successful recovery. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things.
They also do like community grants. They just opened they helped open a wing of a hospital that's entirely sensory friendly.
Oh, wow.
Like those spaces help families like mine just do normal things, because normal things are hard for Billy, you know? And so just being involved with that. And last year we were able to raise $14,000 for the foundation. And so because of that, we've gotten some really cool opportunities. Billy was invited to the Eagles home opener against Dallas by the foundation, and he was surprised by Kylie Kelsey. She came in, they were on Good Morning America together. Like, it was a really cool experience, and I'm super grateful that they gave him that experience, because he still talks about it. But we were at the game afterwards. You know, they had given us tickets to attend the game, and we're in the seats, and he's sitting in the seats with his fidgets, but he loves to say Dallas sucks. And there was a Dallas fan in front of us, and he kept, this poor girl, she was such a saint. He just kept like leaning over into her ear and being like, Dallas sucks. And she ended up finding me on TikTok and sending me a video of us walking onto the field.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, I'm so glad that I could be one of the Dallas fans that your son yelled at. And I was like, that's really cool. You know? Yeah. So just these like experiences that there is kindness in the world, you know, and I get to show people like what autism really looks like, because you see these stories in news headlines where, you know, it's demonized in a way, and I get to be like, actually, like, my kid's fucking cool.
He's so,
you know,
cool.
And autism, I believe, being autistic makes him who he is. He is so funny. So funny.
So funny.
He really is. He cracks me up. Yeah. So, yeah.
We love
Billy. I love him.
Okay, what would you say the biggest blessing of your sobriety has been, besides Billy?
Repairing the relationship with my sister.
Okay.
Was the biggest thing
so
for
you
me.
Guys weren't...
She didn't speak to me for the first 3 years.
Because of your drinking, or...
I think there was a lot of reasons.
Okay.
And we've never fully gotten into it. I've made amends, obviously, and I've allowed her to speak her piece. But I don't think she's ever fully explained why.
Okay.
I know why. I mean, she didn't like Dan. There were some things there. I was just a shitty sister. I would I stole money from her from her college graduation, and then helped her look for it like a crackhead.
Right.
You know, so there was things there that like it was warranted for her not to speak to me. And I think, honestly, had she given me grace, I wouldn't have had to do the work. I remember when I first got sober, I tried to Venmo her like $25 and be like, I'll send you money every week to repay the, I don't know, $500 I stole. She sent it back. She hung up on me when I called her to tell her that I was pregnant with Billy. She was like, fuck you, bitch.
Yeah.
It ain't going to be easy. She made me work for it.
Wow.
But I'm grateful that she made me work for it, because it made our relationship so much stronger than it's ever been. Like, she's helping me behind the scenes this year so much with raising money for Eagles Autism and doing all those things, you know, and she shows up for Billy. She always says like she doesn't like to babysit because it scares her a little bit, like changing diapers and things like that. But she'll like take him outside and let him run with the dogs. And, you know, she finds her way to connect with him. And it's just been really cool. Like, she'll just pop by unannounced to use the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? You know? But like, I couldn't picture that happening when I had 90 Days Sober. I used to go into meetings and raise my hand and cry. Be like, my sister doesn't talk to me. Poor me. You know? Yeah. Unbeknownst to me, it was like, that's how it was supposed to happen. Yeah. You know? Because now I cherished that. Yeah. So I think that was the biggest blessing for me, honestly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so glad you came out here. So what can you tell the audience? How can they help with the Autism Foundation?
Yeah.
Is there a website? What is
there is. So if you go to eaglesautism.org, eaglesautismchallenge.org is the event that'll be on May 9th. But you can follow Billy's story through me on TikTok or Instagram. And we do fundraisers, we do block pools, things like that to raise money for the foundation. And it all gets donated directly to Eagles Autism. You can also donate directly to the foundation, become a sponsor if you have like a business or something. There's ways to get involved if people are interested. And my DMs are always open. Okay. I can connect you.
Period. Okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you
so
much.
Thanks for having me.